Now in Philippians 1:5, we were looking at Philippians this week, and it talks about Paul is rejoicing and he's thanking God for the Philippian believers. And the way he puts it is, and for their participation in the gospel. Now, he doesn't just mean their faith in Christ. He's talking about involvement in ministry and a whole bunch of things, okay? Because it's introductory. He's talking about a lot of big topics there. But it's the participation in the gospel. So how is it then, if we are this forgiven, if we are this reconciled with God, how then do we participate in that with this? How do we do that? Well, we know from the Lord's Prayer, it's a very simple line there, and this is before the cross took place, though, so you need to keep that in mind in the interpretation process. But he says, and we forgive our debtors, as you have forgiven us our debts, as you have forgiven us. We are to forgive our debtors the way you forgave us. Yes, that's what it says. Is it talking about money? No. It's talking about the people I have sinned against, including God. You have forgiven me that debt I owed you. But there are people who sin against me. And if I really understand redemption, what I've been forgiven of, maybe what someone has done to me can be forgiven too. Now that's awfully easy. That's awfully easy to say in theory, right? Until something bad happens. I mean, really bad. A divorce. A beating. A robbery. Dare I say, a rape. Abuse that went on for years. Someone robbed you of your childhood. That gets a lot harder to forgive, does it not? Got really quiet. Is that hard to forgive? Yeah. In the last few minutes here, I want to talk about that because we are to forgive as God has forgiven us. And it says in that same section in the Sermon on the Mount, it says that if we do not forgive as we have been forgiven, then it's implied that we really don't understand the process here. We don't really understand what happened. If we are refusing to forgive, then we're just trying to get fire insurance. We're not really interested in submitting my life to Christ. That's a problem. So forgiveness then, because we have been forgiven, forgiveness then extended to others is a large part of how we participate in this gospel. You follow me on this? Okay. How do we forgive, though? I don't know about you, but there's some people in my life that I have had a hard time forgiving. Should I admit that out loud? Does that tarnish the image? Get over yourself, Dave. Okay, I'll get back behind here because the crowd is getting ugly. But why is forgiveness so hard? We've misunderstood it. We harangue people in churchianity. We harangue them, we guilt them, we shame them. We tell them they have to forgive. And so they ball up their fists and they try really hard and they concentrate and they decide their best to forgive. And they do. I was listening to some preacher this week and I just turned him off. Because he meant well, and he was winsome, and he was interesting, he was entertaining, and all he did was lay another brick on the back of the believers to carry. Forgive or else. It's really what he was saying. How do we forgive? We don't teach people how to forgive. How to forgive. First of all, I'm going to run through this very quickly. Forgiveness is not some things. Forgiveness is releasing the pain of a wound, of some kind of wrong that was done to you. Okay? Can we handle that as a working definition? But forgiveness is not trust. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I have to trust you. So far as it depends on you, be at peace with all men. Right? Romans 12. But there are people out there who will not be at peace with you. You cannot trust them. Just because I forgive an abuser doesn't mean that he's going to stop being an abuser, right? Just because I forgive the dog that bit me doesn't mean it's not going to bite me again. And I have a responsibility to be a steward of God's property, me. Forgiveness is not trust. Just because I forgive somebody doesn't mean I have to trust them. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. There are those who will not be reconciled. They hold a grudge. They're not going to be reconciled to you. And we think then that if I forgive someone, I have to let this monster back into my life. You okay? Okay. Just because I forgive does not mean I have to let this monster back into my life. That may not be wise, not just for myself, but for the people around me. You know? Okay.